Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. I'm sorry, we're just on that afternoon. I'm Louise Jones-Williams. I'm a director at Llantarnam Grange Arts Centre in Cwmbran in South Wales. Welcome to my craft conversation as part of the Digital Craft Festival with Anne Morgan, who is a jeweller and gallery owner from Penarth in South Wales. So welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to just kick off with Anne and I talking a little bit about her background and how she started as a jeweller. And then if anybody's got any questions, then please ask those as we go along, put them in the chat, and I'll come to you to ask your question. But if you'd really prefer not to ask your question, then please put that in the chat and I'll read it out. So, Anne, yes, if you'd like to just start by, just telling us about how you started as a jeweller and your background.
Yes, so I did my secondary schooling up in Warwickshire and chose really badly for my A-levels. I realised that I wasn't quite as academic as I thought I was. But whilst I did that, I also was able to explore some art subjects, which I hadn't previously done. I think the way art is taught is quite sort of traditional, and I didn't quite understand or get or feel the ability to be able to draw, so I just dismissed art. But when I was doing my A-levels, my design technology teacher said, you can do this creative studies GCSE, and I said, well, yes, what's that? What can I do? He said, anything you want. And do you want to do it in jewellery? I said, yes, absolutely. And I was absolutely hooked and started then questioning, can I do this as a career? Is this something that I can do? So then went on and did a foundation course in Mid Warwickshire College. And from there, I knew that it was going to be jewellery, because the foundation course gives you the basics in everything, in sculpture, in graphics, in ceramics, in textiles, jewellery, and any other bit in between, fine art. But I always knew I wanted to do jewellery, so I applied to a degree in what was Buckinghamshire College in High Wycombe. It was a BA honours in designed metalwork and jewellery. We did blacksmithing, silversmithing, jewellery, quite creative pieces, as well as small intricate pieces. And then after I graduated, I think, as with everyone, didn't really know what I was going to do, but I was quite determined that I would be making jewellery, that was the route that I was going to go down, even though it wasn't very, I knew it would be quite hard to make a living out of it, but I sort of carried on doing that. Moved to Cardiff and set up my workshops in various parts of the houses, and various parts of rooms in the house, like the toilet at one point, and
you've got to find space where you can.
Exactly. And then the kitchen, and then I think actually our very first house was the outside toilet and coal bunker was knocked down and made into a workshop for me. So that was my first purpose-built workshop. And then I had kids. No, before I had kids, I shared a workshop. Up in Usk. It was Craft Renaissance, and I was with Deborah Edwards, Catherine Smiley, and there was quite a few. It was a really lovely shared workshop with great sort of content, and it was and there was a gallery there as well. Then I had kids, and then I had to downsize it back into the kitchen. It was the spare room. So I've kind of, as with everything, it sort of evolves and changes. My very first show for the Contemporary Craft Festival, I think, was 2005, because my daughter was only about 6 months old. Don't know why I thought I could do that. But
the obvious choice.
I took her along. In fact, I think my mother-in-law came up and looked after her, and I had my brothers-in-law because I stupidly booked 2 shows to do. I did a trade show in Exeter at the same time. So yeah,
your brain goes a little bit crazy after having a baby. Maybe that was it.
I think
That's amazing.
The idea of losing that work
Yeah.
is quite frightening. So you're like, bring it on, I can do it.
When you've worked so hard to get to that point, yes, it's just feel like you have to juggle like mad.
So so I did that in 2005 and just went managed it, and it was a great experience, but I learned quite a lot from it. I knew I had to up my game a bit more. The next time I did it was a few years later. I skipped a few years and did it. After a while, I've moved out of the room because I've got my rosette from 2014 when I won Best Stand.
Oh,
back over there, I put it up especially. But so I sort of developed, and I loved doing all the set design, if you like, of displaying the jewellery. I used to do, wasn't just that fair, I did lots of other fairs all around the country, and sold through galleries. But sort of from setting up my stands, and then I got my cousin started working for me. She wanted to, Lucy Thompson, she's also a jeweller as well now, but she wanted to learn a few techniques. So I said, I'll tell you what you can do, I'll pay you to help me out. So that's what started, and then from that I realised that having with my my right hand girl, I could fulfil my dream of opening a gallery. 5 years ago, opened Anne Morgan Jewellery here in Penarth, with the help of Lucy and other staff as we developed and we grew. But I think it's through my experience of doing the craft fairs that I met lots of amazing jewellers, and I was able to ask them to exhibit with me. And I think because they saw what I did, I might be wrong, but I hope maybe Sarah can, because Sarah Packington, we stock her work here, but maybe, but I think because we'd met each other as well, they kind of knew what type of person I was, and that they know, hopefully, that I would run the gallery to the best of their interests.
Pair of safe hands.
So so I've been doing that for 5 years now. Which is amazing. And part of the as well as Sarah Packington, we've got her work. We've from the other people who are exhibiting in the digital craft festivals: Jodie Hook, Kikino, Roberta Hopkins, and Rebecca Burt. So I thought it was quite a nice representation of the festival as well, and kind of shows you, how it all joins together.
It shows you how well the networking, how important the networking is, isn't it? And how influential things like the craft festivals can be, and other shows that you do, to not only develop yourself and how you work and your networks, etc., but actually gave you that idea for, well, perhaps I could do this on a larger scale. Like you said, you did that, you always do a beautiful stand, and I think it's having that realizing, well, right, well, I could do that, but I could do this on a much bigger scale, and I could support those makers that I've met, on a much bigger scale.
And a permanent scale as well, because I was getting a bit fed up of carting all my stuff off for weekends to do these fairs.
That must get a bit
really tiring. Yes, it's lovely just to be able to set it all up and leave it.
Absolutely. And you've got that creativity through the gallery as well then, haven't you? The creativity of selecting the work and curating the work for the gallery, and the displays, etc.
And it keeps it new for us as well. It keeps it fresh, and we all get quite excited when work comes in, and which helps us then sell it better as well, because you don't get about it all. You're interested in the pieces, and you want to match them to the customers that are coming in the door.
That's right. So I've got just a couple of things in the chat. I've got hi from Michael Good to both of us, and hi from Heidi Meta. And Sarah Packington has said, hi Anne, yes, definitely true. Your stands always look amazing. Very happy to be asked to stock your gallery. And you're one of my best-selling outlets. Thank you.
That's fab.
That's really nice.
Great.
That's good feedback. Excellent. Yeah, so yes, if anybody wants to put any questions in the chat, then please put them, and then I'll come to you as we go along. So I've got a question from Cresta. Would you like to ask your question? Cresta, are you there? Might have to ask Cresta's question for them. So Cresta said, that's amazing that you've set up the gallery. Does it distract you from your making?
Yes, yes, it does. Yeah, it's a balance of trying to get it right. Luckily, there are some core pieces that get made by other people here, so that really helps. So actually, I've got lots of stock. It's not, that bit isn't a problem. It's just having time and space to create new work and to keep that moving on. I actually used the 2-week fire break to do nothing for the gallery. The first lockdown, I just, like everyone, I think, was just so consuming, and I didn't feel very creative, so I didn't do anything. I just tried
emotionally draining, I think, for most people, wasn't it?
Trying to figure out what furlough meant and for my staff, and what funding was available and stuff like that. So the first lockdown was a write-off in terms of creating work, but the 2 weeks in October and November were actually really amazing, and they really made me, but I already knew this anyway, but it made me think that yes, I need to take some time out at some point, whether it's 1 day a week or whether it's a couple of days a month or something like that, to start creating new pieces. And I'm just looking at Bruno's question as well, which kind of leads on to it. How do you manage to keep your creativity alive and not stagnant? I think it's quite, there's so many ideas brewing that I have to kind of sketch or photograph lots of them and then revisit them. But I think I love the technique that I use so much that it's easy to create new things, and to twist, a little twist on them and change them in a little way, not creating a whole new collection, because I think in the past I've always thought that that's what you should do, is to sort of put aside what you've done,
create a whole new collection,
but a whole new techniques or whatever, completely different to what you're already doing. Excuse me. But I think I now realise that you don't have to do that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I've always thought that was a little bit of an odd thing for makers to do, in a way, because you've got your work, your signature work that you're known for. Obviously, you build up a customer base, you build up fans of your work. So then to completely change you want to develop, you've got new ideas, but it needs to be a development, not a complete change. It sounds like your sketchbook is quite an important tool in that, and that's really interesting. That's the way you work, is through sketching and then developing in the material after.
Yeah, and I think in terms of just shapes, it hasn't always been. I've always worked with the technique. So I use a technique called reticulation, which means that I get, it's created by using a sheet of silver and heating it up till it's almost molten on the surface and taking it away. I've actually got a little bit here. I don't know if you can see that, but it sort of creates, that's the unfinished pieces that you can then I cut from them. So everything's quite sort of fabricated, but definitely led from workshop experimentation, rather than sort of outsourced from, inspired by nature or anything like that. But also combining combining the two, really.
Yes.
I think as a mid-career craftsperson, when you get asked where's your influences, that kind of thing, it's quite hard, because I think you draw on so much instinct.
Absolutely.
You don't really question, well, where's this shape from, or what's that? It's just, it's instinctively it works or it doesn't work. And very quickly you can discard what doesn't work, and then you work with what works.
Yeah. And as you said, the materials will provide inspiration just as much as something external.
And I get quite so you'll get customers coming in and wanting them to create something a little bit different, and sort of end up sort of being distracted by that as well.
I mean, commissions are incredibly important for all makers, aren't they, and artists, but that's a different creative process than you know, somebody who's coming in with a commission usually has quite a strict brief, what they're looking for. It's not, doesn't tend to be create me anything, so that's a different kind of process, I suppose. Michael Good's got a question. Michael, would you like to ask it?
Hello, hi.
Hi, Michael. Oh, Michael's
hi, how are you? I'm in town.
Fine.
I'm in town. Sorry, I'm coming to town into Cardiff. So I just wanted to know, I did see Anne last week, so I've got a bit of an idea what she's been doing the last couple of months with the shop and with her business. I just wanted to know generally, in terms of makers and designers, how to make, particularly now with the kind of current climate, how to make their business or their work more resilient and to raise their profile in terms of, it's such a crowded market, you know, generally, how to engage with people, how to, you know, boost your profile, and how to eventually sort of make more sales, really. How has she done that, and how to recommend to other people?
Thank you, Michael. How have I done that? Well, I have taken on, I think outsourcing what you can't do or what you don't have time to do is really quite important. I don't think you should think that you have to do it all. Because I certainly in this environment with the gallery can't do it all at all. So we use, where we can, different people to do different jobs. So one of those, we use Beth, who does a lot of my social media. And I think she's amazing at it. She's got just such a natural voice that we've all tried to do in the past and we haven't been able to do it. So I think finding someone like that to give you a voice, or look at how things are written and how things are portrayed to you over social media, I think is quite important. And it is, I mean, our competition is the high street, it's not each other. And actually looking at what the high street is doing in terms of marketing and raising their profile, we should be mirroring to a certain extent. I'm not talking about doing Black Friday events or anything like that, but in terms of like, I don't know, using particular images or advertising in the visuals you use. I think I've learned a lot about marketing and advertising over the last 5 years, and we definitely have a budget that we have to use, and it can quite easily go over budget. So we're very careful about what we use and how we use it.
I think that's quite important, because I do think some, you know, makers and different small businesses feel, oh, why should I pay for advertising on social media, as if that should all be free. Well, several years back, before we had the social media, people would have paid for adverts in magazines and newspapers, which is a lot more expensive, obviously a lot less targeted. So I think people need to, it's really good to go on those little short courses about marketing small businesses and creative businesses, isn't it? To learn those little tricks. You know, quite small amounts of money in advertising can get you quite high rewards, but it's knowing how to use them correctly. And it's sort of, you know, you can't know everything, like you said, you can't do everything. So it's you know, search out those, those great organizations that do, Design Trust or Crafts Council, or there's lots of different organizations, isn't it, that provide training. Some will be free, some will be paid, but it's just, talk to other makers, find out where they found it useful, isn't it, and get those tips from other makers and from organizations.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'm really lucky because I've got a bricks and mortar shop that people can physically come into, and it's all about the senses, and the people I think with jewellery particularly find it very difficult to buy online, but I think if they're in this environment, that we can offer great service and great choice, and we can really individually tailor the customer's needs. That we're really lucky that we do that. And obviously I know what it's like not to have that platform and only to do the craft fairs, and it feels like you have to constantly push yourself and learn. I mean, there's so many new skills to be learned even on social media that I haven't even touched. Like at the moment the Instagram is all about reels and
Yes,
things like that.
It is constantly evolving, so it's difficult to keep on top of that. But as I said, it's a constant. It's like us all having to learn how to adapt to this whole new Zoom way of working and way of networking and things. So it's just everything is a constant learning.
Also, one of the ways you can, I think, raise your profile is to put yourself in positions that you might not necessarily want to be in, or to challenge yourself. So I in 2012 I made the crown for the National Eisteddfod, which was a hugely daunting experience. And it's easy not to do those things, and just to sit and go, it's fine, somebody else is going to do that, and it takes out a lot of time and energy away from the rest of your work. It does make you want to watch, and they're never really incredibly financially viable. Well, they're viable, but they're not financially profitable. But the type of things that you need to do in order to kind of raise the profile, which is what I've done. And just
absolutely looking for those sorts of opportunities that can raise your profile, and it's putting yourself out there, isn't it, into those uncomfortable situations. Sometimes that might be, I feel very uncomfortable speaking online, or speaking at an event, or talking to customers in person at a festival, or as you said, competitions, or those sorts of opportunities. But it's putting yourself out there to get yourself
because it's something that you can write, so you need content. Or if you want to raise your profile and kind of keep going and saying, I'm here, this is what I do, just those sort of things are going to help you raise your profile and get you noticed a little bit more. So it's not necessarily always about the pieces that your craft that's going to get you noticed, it's also the things around it as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got not so much a question, but a comment from Abia Kayani, which is, absolutely agree with drawing inspiration from work that has been ongoing. It's like being part of a beautiful evolving cycle. That's a nice thought. Yeah. So just wondered whether you wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about the work and processes. I mean, you've touched on it already, and if have you made anything specifically for this craft festival, for the digital craft festival?
Yeah, so I've got a few pieces here. Should get out.
We love seeing your studio behind you, by the way.
Yeah, this is everyone else's bench space is a lot cleaner and tidier.
I'm sure they're not.
Well, next to me is what I mean. Like, mine's
got to make a mess for creativity.
Yeah, exactly. So I love this process. I love actually doing it, heating up the metal, moving it slightly with the flame, and sort of creating these undulations and ripples in the metal, and sort of being quite organic. But I also quite like to contain it a little bit. So all my pieces have always had sort of maybe sort of sharper edges. They've just been, that one's kind of has a nice rim to it. So although it's organic, because this is a bit that melted that I thought I would use, and I normally cut round things like that and sort of, you know, keep them complete, but I wanted to use that one.
Yeah, it's great. You've got that wonderful contrast, haven't you, of the very regimented, you know, obviously perfect circle, but then with that very natural flow and that natural element of the whole inside it.
And yeah, interesting. I used to make pieces on purpose like this, and then dome them and create pieces of jewellery. And I guess this is kind of like revisiting that in a slightly different form. I mean, that even just like to the really simple, this is a pin to go on, you know, a lapel pin. It's like, it's just, yeah, I don't get bored of doing this or seeing it. So, and
because
then,
I suppose it's different every time, isn't it? Like you said, you're reacting to how the metal reacts to the heat, etc. So it's different every time.
So it is different.
Each piece is unique.
I do cast a few pieces as well. So some of the rings that I've been creating. This is another in progress piece that I haven't quite got round to completing, but yeah, so I can, so once I've got one piece like that, I can cast it and I can repeat it.
Yes.
But these particular ones for the Digital Craft Festival are sort of one-off pieces. So I've got this brooch. I don't know whether you can see, but it's reticulated on both, but one side has been drilled out.
Yes.
Just wondering. Need a bit of a dark background. I'm just going to stand up like that. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can see the holes. Yeah.
So you've got holes, and then you've got a strip of 9-carat gold, and then just the plain silver. So again, it's contrasts and using organic forms with geometric and forms. I always go back to that. I've got a brooch on here, which slightly different shapes.
Is that oxidized on the one side, or is it just the shadow?
No, that's oxidized.
Yeah.
It's the same as this, the one that I just showed. So it's been oxidized.
The darker side, yeah, for the contrast. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, got that one, and then this is the plain reticulated erosion piece. And I'm sort of revisiting this shape. I used to do quite a lot of necklaces with beads with this shape stones on it, so I just wanted to kind of bring a slightly cleaner, crisper look to it. So for example,
yes, beautiful,
this one of these pieces here, which actually is made, it can work anyway. I love this shape. It can work in different ways like that. So there's lots to come for that.
Beautiful. There's a couple of technical questions coming through on the chat. One from Tolga. I don't. Is it silver cast?
So once I've created something and a flat sheet, like something like this, that's been hand fabricated on, and I could then cast it to get multiples. But generally speaking, these pieces I will I will cut out of a flat sheet that I've already prepared. But if I want to make more and duplicate them in a different way, or then I will cast them
from there.
It's a kind of toss-up again between the casting process being cost effective compared to me just doing it here, and sometimes it isn't always cost effective, so it's it's easier to do it here. I don't get anything different out of it. With the rings, I do get something different out of these because they're thicker. You can only reticulate on something like 0.8 mil. You can't really go any thicker than that.
Yeah.
So, but for a ring, it's not. That's too thin. So I've made this ring up, and then I've put a sleeve of metal into it to thicken it. It's quite a substantial, thick ring.
Yeah.
And then I've cast it, and that's when the casting process works for me.
Yeah. So Sarah's got a question as well, but another sort of a follow-up question from Tolga. Do you do the casting yourself or outsource them?
No, outsource it.
That's one of those jobs. Learn the jobs you can outsource.
There's so many amazing companies that do all of that type of stuff for you. You can shop around and get the right price from the right person, and you know, I've probably got about 3 or 4 casting companies that I use, and I use them for different purposes.
Oh, right, that's interesting. Yeah. She said thanks. So Sarah Packington, did you want to ask your question, or would you like me to ask it?
Oh, I can't hear you.
Unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, just interesting when you were talking about doing the drill holes. Just wondered if you drill before you do the heating or afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah, I think I haven't actually done it before. Maybe that's another little thing that might create something different. But I think if you've got the holes there, once you heat it, you'll probably end up sort of melting it and merging it together. Might be quite interesting. I might give that one a go. But yeah, do it afterwards. Yeah, and that's the kind of the handy thing about having some staff, that I can get them on the drill and they can just do a whole sheet for me, and then I can cut up what I need. So that's my balance works for me there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other questions that anybody would like to ask. We are coming towards the end of our session, so if there's anyone got anything else they would like to ask. Just wondered what was happening at the gallery around Christmas. And it's very difficult to have Christmas events this year, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, we missed we were 5 in October, and we normally do a big event for that.
Oh, what a shame.
Haven't done that. Penarth's pretty full of independent shops though, so they've all
lovely.
got together, and at the moment there's this tenner trail that you can buy something for £10 in a shop somewhere.
Oh,
and
that's a nice idea.
We've just got little studs that retail at £10. So they're all sort of like pulling together. We have got work in the window, new work from Rebecca Burt and Julia Smith, who's based in Hereford, and a new form, and Lima, and I think there's somebody else as well. I can't quite remember, but we try and keep it all fresh and new for Christmas. And then in the spring we will continue our spring ring exhibition, where we invite makers to show just rings, and they tend to be of slightly higher price, but not always. But it's really nice to have that type of work in the shop for people to come and think about sort of commissions, or just to, and I think spring is quite a good time for that to happen, because they can, Christmas is over with, all of that. So it's a nice time to think about what they want for that special commission or off the shelf sale, which is always nice to have. And we get a lot of response from that. It's one of one of the exhibitions we push most with, because I think at the end of the day people love rings. I know I do. That's what I love. And that's what I love doing the craft fairs for. Excuse me. I love doing the craft fair so that I could show so many more rings, because there's a limit that you can send to galleries, I think. Because so I used to love just having my display of rings there.
The full display.
Having that conversation, just that kind of thing of people putting them on and going, oh, that doesn't fit. Oh, that one fits.
The excitement.
I think there is something different about buying a ring that's different about buying another piece of jewellery.
I think rings can have that much more. It's more personal. So I mean, I love necklaces. I'm wearing one of Anne's older knotted work today. But I think rings are just really personal, aren't they? I mean, obviously there's all the symbolism around them, and wedding rings and engagement rings and eternity rings. But I think even, you know, even the, like you said, the off-the-shelf pieces, it's finding the one, the one that speaks to you, and then it fits, and then it's like it's meant for you. It's like a different relationship to other pieces of jewellery.
That's the variable, is whether it will fit or not. So you know, like,
like, I think when they do fit, it's like it's absolutely meant to be. It's meant to be mine. You know, there's that sort of feeling. So it makes it a bit more special. Yeah. Well, hopefully this time next year we will be at a real life craft festival again, and people will be able to experience that again. So Heidi's put in the chat, you can never have enough jewellery. Very true. Something bespoke is very special. So yeah, that's absolutely. So thank you, Anne. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed our craft conversation for the Digital Craft Festival. And if you'd all like to go and have a really good look through the Digital Craft Festival website, and see all the makers there and all the wonderful work on show, and there's also talks and demonstrations and children's activities and all sorts of things. So lots of people saying thanks a lot and lovely chat and enjoyed it, and lovely conversation. So thank you all for your lovely comments, and thank you, Anne, and I'll see you all soon.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye all.